Early July 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trails. And they will be rough cut. Standard introduction first for those who haven't had the misfortune to see my videos. Where we live at 22 Armitage Court, with warnings about fierce guard cats. You may or may not see some of those. So-called Robin's Corner, where GPS was tested from the late 1980s. And yes, that's the garden sculpture that June got Robin for a birthday present over 4 years ago now. There's the oak tree that sprung up from an acorn. There's accommodation for a bat that's never been taken up, but sometimes cats use it as guard platforms. Down the front drive. Yeah, June's car is out, you'll see why shortly. Yes, an old project that. Accommodation for guard cats, including armed mice, and warning signs everywhere. You'll see more of the warning signs soon. And yeah, somewhere to hide the dustbins, that is. Then you'll see more about the robot boat shortly. Yes, various other things around here, including, yes, more cameras and peanut feeders. That's for your needs topping up. Yes, the robot boat, that was the battle damage sustained on the last trip down to launch Snoopy's robot boat from the coast. June said Robin did it, Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. I'm relying very much on the automatic translation for those who English isn't their first language. And yeah, so when we come into the porch, there's beeps going off due to that camera. Yes, there's warning signs everywhere. Closed circuit TV, hidden TV cameras inside out this house. Sound and video is monitored in local houses and elsewhere. No trespassing. Violators will be shot. Survivors will be shot again. I hasten to add, these are obviously all poor humoured jokes. Nothing serious at all. Yes, there's one of the many cameras. And probably more importantly, my study is in there, and it says do not disturb. I'm disturbed enough already, but perhaps the most important sign of the lot, especially reading the small print about water squirters: home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock, beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? A joke, of course. Right, now into the house. And yes, sorry, one of the purposes of these videos is to enable potential criminals to case the joint, but more importantly, potential helpers help us clear the place up. I've said this enough times. So it's full of junk, and one of the most important bits of junk, I wouldn't call it that, is Snoopy's robot boat, and he's practically ready. The last job, which that's the water line along there. So he's practically ready for a Bray Lake test. Now I will actually switch on here. One of those switches should do it. That's the startup sequence.
Snoopy's Pickaxe 28X2 GPS autopilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
Right, that's the startup sequence. So that was the last time the software was changed, December 2017. No need for that. When there's been problems, they've always been mechanical problems.
GPS time 12:12, 9 seconds. Target Alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees. GPS course 325, speed 0.4 knots, right 24. Right,
so it's now guiding to Bray Lake, which is the first waypoint, because that's where we are. That's where we are, which is home, and so it's got no particular place to steer for.
GPS time 12:12, 44 seconds. Target Alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349.
Right, switch that off. Quick glance at yes, lots of things like robot boats and junk, and this junk which needs to go in the right place. I say junk, it's tools and materials. Of course, it's not just hobbies like robot boats, it's bits of repair in house and garden as well, and that's where we obviously need help. Quick look outside. The rain might be coming on heavier soon. Yeah, that gets an appearance which is Fox's up to mischief with that arm. That was found there. That appears on one of the clips. I'm not going to do a full tour of the garden here now because other photo trails show that, but we're gradually getting things into a better state, but it would be a lot quicker if we had help. Yes, that was a repair I did only yesterday, not on the photo trails. These were getting knocked off, and so I came up with something knocked off, not stolen, knocked onto the ground and broken by pussycats prowling around. So I now go back into the house and into the dry. Yeah, some of the materials that have been used. So not easy, of course, doing all this holding the camera. So yes, one of the many hobby projects, filming of the red kites from the air. There's lots of other stuff. That's a bit more relevant to later end of the trail, which is aerial photography, and that's the tank factory, which is now Longcross Studios, and that comes up at the end day of this set of photo trails. Quick glance at the kitchen. Yes, temporary effect with mirrors. No work done recently there. Women aren't watching television in Wimbledon for a change. Quick glance at the study. Yes, complete mess, but at least I know where things are. And right, this is the lounge, and that's Robin's naughty corner, where he normally sits and relaxes and eats and looks at the closed circuit TV live, but of course that's also where you can do checks about what's happened, and that was very useful. It has been many times. And right now what I have on the screen is where June is, which is, they'll probably be moving up to number 1 court, probably sat about here, depends if they've got seats in the same place, but they're up at Wimbledon at the moment. So that's the little tracker like this that June carries around with her. Makes it easier for me, know where she is, even if it's in the garden. And then if I just change to another screen, what we have here is where they park the car, and there it is, and they took a bus from there, I think. And this tracker, so-called Snoopy's Spot T tracker, is the one that is going in the boat. So come back round to the boat just as a reminder. So one of the bits of electronics inside the waterproof box, which is screwed down at the moment, is a Spot Sattom's tracker. Right, I'm getting close to having pointed most things out, so we can then go into those photo trails. And I think the one thing, weather pops up quite a bit, so let's see if I can flip to rain radar. Here we go. So according to that, this is one of the websites that can be useful. This is precipitation and weather for Sunninghill. So the time is now about 1:20 BST, British summertime, and so it looks at that as though the rain may come on a bit heavier. And there's the pattern of rain. That's where we are. They're at Wimbledon, so they'll be getting some as well, but I think they'll be undercover. So time to go into those rough photo trails for the beginning of July. Monday the 1st of July 2024. Yes, Toadie sleeping in the washing basket in the utility room, and yes, progress being made on the test tank, and yes, processing of videos. Yeah, check the time, so definitely multitasking, setting off something on the computer and then going out and doing something outside. Oh, that was yeah, it's not a very nice subject, which is what had happened after I'd left that dead mouse that Toadie had caught out, and sure enough, Toadie took an interest late that night and ate some of it, left it on the doorstep, and then yes, the foxes came along. One of them took an interest, and as far as I could make out, he ate the rest of it before continuing with the peanuts. Yes, and the little ring camera showed the detail as well, with sound. Not that it's very nice. Yes, all a matter of tools for the job. Some of them are a bit untidy and antiquated, but they do the job. So, looks like a run out. First of all, Travis Birkins. So I'm looking for some material, wood, and then ended up at home base, back to make that test tank a little tidier looking. Oh yes, and also picked up some things from the village. So got the materials there. Yes, backwards and forwards. I'm processing videos to try and make them a little higher resolution. And yes, looked up the Plimsoll line stuff again. So now it's a case of putting some wood around that tank so it looks a little less unsightly, but of course the important functional job is done by the plastic. And yes, I'm putting tools back in the right place, meaning I can find them at the spirit level. Yes, I found that the so-called test tank was leaning over. It needed to be packed up about an inch, but you couldn't do that unless the water was removed. It's far too heavy to lift, at least to begin with. Yes, that looks like Bentley coming in and Toadie watching him. Bentley comes in for a drink and then something to eat. Yes, spirit level, yeah, not shown to that screen. That worked well, and of course you could say, why need a spirit level if you've got water there? But it's useful. So fingers crossed, put the spirit level back where it belongs. June had decided that goes in the utility room. And yes, I thought not only pack it up with wood, but the foam squirted underneath would all help to support it when it's set, but also perhaps discourage mice from making their homes under it. A nice long call from Paul, and yes, that's progressing nicely. Not finished, but it's certainly a lot better than it was. So then looking at where the water line would be on the boat, because I've ordered some sticky red lines. Yeah, so I found the black marker pen was a bit easier, so I've marked that on, and the boat is now back in its usual place, which is in the games room. And yes, June's rustled up food. I'm eating it in the naughty corner, and then I noticed the peanuts have all gone on the feeder on the roof, bird feeder on the roof, so top that up. Also put peanuts down on the top bridge just outside the patio door, and check in the video upload that was going on, and yes, listened to the Radio 4 news, did the closed circuit TV check, running from midnight forward. Yes, there's the foxes coming for the peanuts at the front and at the back, and little baby foxes. Well, not barely babies, but they're very young. Got a new generation of those. You have seen 4 at the same time. There's 2. Through to 03:48 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight. As I often say, this is not all the visits, but representative. And there is a glimpse of what must have been a moth, and flying and settling on honeysuckle, I think it was having, but that confused me because it looked as though it flew away backwards. Now, I don't know what that was about. Anyhow, yes, there's a mouse very clearly seen on the top bridge, and there's a hedgehog. So we're still getting visits by the hedgehogs. Not so often because they've probably got other sources of food. And there he is on the bridge as well. And there's a bat. Yes. And there's me coming back from the Comrades Club. And yes, that appeared earlier on the photo trail, which was the sad process of that poor mouse. So that's the end of the closed circuit TV chat. And yeah, looking at, oh yes, it looks like that video was up there with subtitles, or captions as they call them. So that was good. Anyhow, yes, I had some peculiarity when I posted it. Facebook said it had blocked it, so I filled in their form and said I thought they'd made a mistake, and I guess the whole thing was automated anyhow, because yes, you'll hear back from us soon. Well, I did hear back very quickly, which was, we've restored your post. It looks like you, yes, explained, they made a mistake. Yes, automation can sometimes be pretty stupid. That's it, that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 2nd of July 2024. Yes, Toady guarding the premises, but that was much later in the day. Yes, so yeah, the women are at tennis, and oh yes, saw a squirrel out the window having the peanuts on the top bridge, and quite a lot of progress made related to the robot boat, but I can see the women are on their way back. Yes, sent off an email related to yes, the stuff history from the 70s, you'd say. Yes, there's Lady Michelle's Pussycat relaxing with Michelle's toys, and of course the main activity was the test tank for Snoopy's robot boat, and that was working, and it was a case of tidying it up, putting extra bits of wood around it so it didn't look quite so bad. So that was one activity going on. That was June off to do some shopping, I think. And yes, so I can check the trackers, like the Spot Satcoms tracker that was going into the boat, and the other tracker is June's pendant tracker. So yes, it seems to still show her there. It was a bit delayed, but that's the reason for testing things. Still said they were back. Now it says they're back, so there was a delay. Could have been all sorts of reasons for the delay. But he says the Spot Satcoms tracker, yes, that is known to be slower, but of course it's got a load of other strengths, and that's the one that's going in the boat. But it's tested. There was a delivery, and I knew what it was going to be. It was the red sticky tape or lines to go and show the water line on Snoopy's robot boat. There's Toady inspecting what I was doing. Yeah, and yes, chat June's having, and yes, me too. That was with Pam. Yeah, I hope we'll see her this year as well. Yes, Hancock. So we get free tea or coffee and bickies when we pop in to see her. Oh yes, how to clean a mixture of alcohol and water, but she says no, don't use any of that vodka, and I wouldn't like it, and it has got bits of gold in it. So mixture of water and that alcohol that June had given me, not to drink, I hasten to add, but for cleaning before putting on the sticky tape. And I was just improvising, cutting it, not with scissors but with the knife. On, and then of course you use the varnish, and the one I would have used would have taken hours to dry, and I thought no, I'd choose something that's a quick drying one, basically to make sure the waterline tape stays there. Yeah, so now for checking it. Yeah, the waterline looks about right. Yeah, possibly a couple of millimeters or so above the waterline on that side, but around the other side, oh goodness me, it's completely wrong. Look at it. Oh, I don't know what I did wrong, but yes, you can see there, it's probably an inch above the waterline. So that's got to be corrected. And yes, I also thought I better paint using the International Perfection paint, but it turned out that the hardener had completely dried up, so I need to get a new can of that, but meanwhile I'll have to improvise. I was going to use a lot, it was just touching up and one or two spots going over that waterline marker. Listening to the Radio 4 news. Yeah, a bit more varnish on the boat, just to make sure that line, which I think I've correctly positioned now. Yeah, so processing of video. Yeah, looks like the oh yeah, June took a trip out and played tennis with Bal, and so I used it as an opportunity to check the trackers. And, yeah, lots of things going on at the same time. There's Toadie on guard duty, and there's Michelle and June back from tennis with Bal at the Victory Field, that was, rather than where she normally goes. And yes, now checking it after I'd adjusted the waterline on the right hand side of the boat, and that all looks pretty good to me, just fractionally above the waterline. So if the boat takes on water and starts to sink, then over time one would see, oh, it's settling lower in the water. Oh yes, decide to put some screws into the stand for the robot boat, brought him in, and yes, there's Bentley decided to come over for a little while. Hello Bentley. June's rustled up some food. They've got tennis on the television, of course. I go into the naughty corner in the lounge where I can relax, and yes, I probably might have even put a bit more varnish on then, I don't know. Don't think so. Yes, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 3rd of July 2024. Yeah, 40 minutes of photos, including lots happening that day, including the visit to Eton College, open for the NGS. Yes, women back from tennis, Toadie prowling around, inspecting their gear, and what else do we have? Oh yes, checking that the trackers worked. And yes, that's the white Go Top pendant tracker that June carries around with her. Yeah, that showed the trip to the tennis club, and also checked out the spot tracker, the trace tracker that's going into Snoopy's robot boat, and that's normally carried around in June's car. Oh, looks like it's trying to rain. Better look at the rain radars and things. It says it's going to stay virtually dry, just the possibility of a bit of dampness occasionally hitting us. Yeah, so not much work to do on the test tank for Snoopy's robot boat. Put things back where they were. Yes, he says, don't forget. And also, that thing which I thought would serve as a test tank, which was a set of plastic shelves, I put in a sensible place outside the workshop. So did a little bit of tidying up, but of course, yes, the robot boat has now got a nice red line along it. Full hard work that was. And so where are we off to? Oh yes, the Eton College Gardens was on the list of places to go later in the day. Generally lots of tidying up there, a little bit of progress made, and what have we got next? Oh yes, June and Samantha decided to take a trip out to Longacres, so I was able to check after doing other work, where were they now, when they likely to be back. Question of eating. Oh yes, it's pub lunch with the grumpy old men, fonts of wisdom, and so it looks like the women are on their way back, so they'll get a chance to see the lads when they arrive here, because some of them have got things of mutual interest like Grand Prix rotor racing and things. Yeah, so yeah, not back yet. Bit late, took a few minutes more than I thought from the last position. Yes, just took a few pictures at Robin's Corner, including that sculpture that June got me. Here they are arriving, a minute or two after I thought they would. And yes, there's the tracker, or one of the trackers. So, time to relax, and there's Stuart arriving on schedule, and there's a Jay live on the cover of the Peanuts, and now we're off. So Stuart is chauffeur, going past a few landmarks, including Ascot Racecourse, to the Duke of Edinburgh in Woodside. That one's a bit blurred. Anyhow, lovely meal and conversation, of course. There's a record of what we ate. I had the chili con carne, and yes, so that was the meal. So then it's back again past a few landmarks, including the Cords Hall in the village, coming out of the village to Armitage Court, and I take a quick look at the tracker. Yes, shows the time spent at the Duke of Edinburgh. Obviously the scatter is the signal inside the building. There's Toadie, decided to relax in the middle of the day or early afternoon, and Lady doing likewise in Michelle's bedroom, and then across the road for coffee and bickies and cake with Richard and Faye, and back home. And yes, Eton College was where we were thinking of going, because it's open for the National Garden Scheme charity. So there's Michelle still playing with the Pussycats, and yes, down through the village. So we're now on the way to Eton College near Windsor, past a few landmarks, including places that June's family lived, past Windsor Girls' School where June went as a young girl, and getting closer. And yeah, so there's the parking, lots of space there, easy walk, lovely gardens of course. We have been there several times. Little map of the layout for walking around. We didn't have a lot of time because it was quite late. It was only about half an hour or so before the time finished for visiting, and yeah, but we had a good look round, and June managed to make it to the rose garden. Oh yes, that looks like, would that be barley? Can't be sure. There was a nice mixture. There's the old buildings, they've been there for a little while. One of the bridges I remember well. And a few plaques up. You can always freeze the frame to read the details if you want to. Because it's near the Thames, but there are obviously some little side streams. So parts of the garden are what might describe as formal gardens, and some are nice wild areas. Yeah, they're lovely plants and roses and things. So by now I'd got separated from June because she'd gone chasing off. So I carried on roaming around and making my way back to where the coffee and cakes are. And of course, on the process, you chat to some interesting guys. And yeah, so I remember that place, the College Kitchen, as a young lad when I think I'm probably about 5 or 6, motorbike and sidecar to go and pick up food scraps. Oh, that was a lovely coincidence. Yes, meeting Patrick. He was there. I had no idea he would be there, but he was collecting. Oh yes, when security guys going around. Yeah, June wanted to see that little patch before we left, and I do remember that one. That lovely statue. A sculpture, 1918. That says it was done. Yes. And yeah, making our way back under the road, those arches go, and making our way back to where the car was parked. Yes, anybody look at the website, got everything on it. And making our way back home, past the leisure centre where Raj works, past the fountains in the middle of that town, and yes, past Blackness Gate, I think that was, up Water Splash Lane, through Cheapside Village, past it, and yes, coming into Sunninghill, the Cords Hall, Rajvuj, the new Tesco Express and other places that have been there for a while. Toadie on guard duty. Hello Toadie. Into the house, and of course, yes, the flowers coming along nicely. So what work awaits me now? Not a lot really, just wrap up things, check that the trackers were working, including the Spot Trace Satcom tracker that's going into Snoopy's robot boat. Yes, that showed the track. I was looking over 24 hours in order to not miss anything. Then looked at my GoTop pendant tracker, obviously in more detail, and also where I walked, including walking around Eden College. And yeah, Thames Hospice was one of the benefactors of oh yes, looked up, yes, it is real gold, very small amount in the vodka. That was a discussion point during pub lunch, and one or two people were absolutely certain it could not be possibly real gold, but it clearly is. It's just a very small amount of it. Yes, there's the Pussycats, including Toadie and Bentley. And oh, this is now taking Michelle back. She's back off up to Coventry, so we're giving her a lift to Ascot Station to catch the train. I think that was at 17 minutes past 6, and trains are pretty accurate on time. So we take the conventional route to the platform that she's catching the train. Had an interesting chat with the lady minding the platform. I like graffiti, got a snatch of graffiti on that carriage, and then I took a different route back, which is a tunnel. I thought it was a bit quicker, and so back to the car where June was waiting, and then making our way back home through South Ascot into Armitage Court, back home at number 22. Yes, television goes onto the TV, and tennis goes onto the TV, and ladies relaxing in the games room with the robot boat. Yes, that shows the trip on the Satcom's tracker to the railway station. And then looking at the personal tracker, yes, that shows me here, just here. So, what happened before, he said. So he's looking on the history data for it, and that shows my walk around onto the other platform. And then I updated the blog page, marking up a picture and put a post in up. And yes, there was a visit, a microtransit friend in Belgium. And looks like Gin's rustled up food. I take that into the naughty corner. I see that the bird feeder on the roof is empty, so go up and top it up with peanuts, and do the same for the bridge down. And at the front, yes, the feeder was getting very low, so now where do I keep the peanuts? I keep them in a better place now, out on the rear patio, so top up the bin for that. Now look at that. Oh yes, that was a posting I did related to the Pickaxe computer. I want spares for the robot boat before we actually launch it out into the Atlantic. There's a closer TV check running from midnight forward. Yes, foxes and a mouse. That's on the roof. 2 mice, one racing past the other. And yes, there's a fox there. The camera was playing up a bit, the running low on power, not surprising. 0405 GMT is when the camera switched to colour. So now going back from midnight, yes, some pattern of foxes at the front and at the back, and Toadie close to a fox while it was feeding, and a hedgehog, so the hedgehogs are still appearing. And that was 2047 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night, and Toadie decided to come and join me. So time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. 4th of July 2024. Yes, they included the visit to Black Park and checking out Duckcam Mark III. Mark 1 was checked out there 20 years ago, I believe. Anyhow, here's the photos in the order they were taken. And yes, the sun was out, so I went out in the garden and checked the sundial. No surprises there. Yeah, land doesn't seem to have shifted. And what else? Oh yes, that's the other sundial. That's been there a long time. Yes, the robot boat. And who should be relaxing in the corner but Lady, Michelle's pussycat. In fact, spends quite a proportion of the day dozing there. Oh yes, down to the polling station, because yes, it was the time to vote. And yeah, check the tracker's working. Robin can see, oh, looks like he went down, Ascot Day Centre. Yeah, must have voted then. And that was a lovely coincidence, because we saw Patrick. We voted. Didn't take any pictures though. And yes, back here. Yeah, process of video for the day before. Yeah, usual thing, putting a commentary on like this. Oh yes, I had to go to the bank. So I tend to do things on paper for very good reasons, proven many years ago. And yes, there's Toadie guarding the premises. And I say the bank, but it's going through the village, a few landmarks, including Chapman's and the Raj Bhuj and the cinema, past the Victory Field. Yeah, that looks as though they're doing some work on that. Into Index House, and they've got that little place at the end that somebody mans that, so you can still do things face to face. That worked well. So then back through South Ascot into Armitage Court, back to our place, and yes, ladies still dozing in the corner. And yeah, I checked that as well. There you are, there's a little trip out, including there. Anybody guessing? Said, oh, looks like he's been to the bank. And yes, back here. And check out the spot tracker that's destined to go in the boat, because that's kept in June's car. Well, it's not doing that. And oh yes, notice the birdie coming. And yes, I saw that the peanuts had mostly gone, and I checked and saw the culprit of not so much eating the peanuts, but throwing that ticket that was intended for red kites if they took an interest. Perhaps it's because we don't leave meat there. Anyhow, that looks like a J. So I thought, yeah, better top up the peanuts. So that's it after. Put that ticket back in place. There's the camera that's close by looking at the back garden. One of the cameras. And yeah, that, whatever it is, grapevine, I think, needs to be cut back a bit or bent back, because it was obscuring the camera from seeing what was going on near the pond. Ah yes, thought on a Thursday it turns out that Muddle Boat Club is open, so I spoke to one or two guys, let them know what we were doing, and yeah, took the Mark III duck but put it in a bag so it wasn't too obvious. And yeah, just check the measurements, because in fact one of the main reasons for taking a trip out was to see if we could get the right plastic material to go as a cover over that test tank for Snoopy. But yeah, through the village, past a few landmarks, so we're making our way out to Black Park, I think it is, over the Thames. And yes, we're getting close now. Park in the car park, use the machines to pay, and the pleasant surprise, it did actually take cash, not just credit cards. So then walked along, and of course, lovely area, lots of wildlife, including the same sort of ducks. I think those were mallard ducks. And of course, because it was a Thursday, there's the grumpy old men in the Black Park Model Boat Club. And yes, it was lovely. It's a little while since I've spoken to these guys, but it goes back years. As I say, 20 years. There's a quick little test of Duck Mark III. They originally had cameras on them, and 20 years ago the first one was used to rescue Gary Carter's boat, I think, that stuck there. Anyhow, it was a lovely visit, and of course I ended up making a little video of that, about 3 minutes, that went up onto YouTube, quite independent of this. Is just a photo trail for the record and whatever purposes. Back to the car, then looking what route to go back, ideally swinging past somewhere like B&Q or Home Base. And of course this is where I'd suggested we don't go through the middle of Slough, but go sort of West Staines area. And of course June said no, it's going to be quicker going that way. And I must admit, I couldn't believe how how bad the traffic was, even though it hadn't reached rush hour. Anyhow, I did find the right product eventually for places, but it wasn't the size that was convenient. Really big, huge sheet. So thought no. So we're making our way back home now, and yes, there's Toadie relaxing and guarding the premises, if you call it. There's the test tank, so I may put some plastic or something over it at some other time. And looked up, and that was what I should have been searching for online, not the obvious name to search for. So if I'd have done that searching earlier for the right thing, I'd have been right. There, checking the trackers. Anybody could have seen where we were, including the spot tracker. Yes, including what time we got to places. And then my SOS tracker, as I call it, or the Pocket Pal is the generic term. Go top, that is, and that shows in more detail because it updates more often, and of course it's on me rather than attached to the car back here. And yes, I thought it was worth making a little video of the 3-minute clip that I shot. Fingers crossed, he says. There's lady still relaxing, and June's rustled up food. So I take it into the naughty corner in the lounge in front of the closed circuit TV, where I can watch live things like the pigeons coming for the peanuts that were topped up recently. And June's watching the tennis. Oh yes, the video that looked as though that worked well, including with subtitles, so, or captions. So pleased with that. Oh yes, then we had a visit by the Conservative candidate, just checking whether we'd voted. And since I'm recording this the next day, yes, he did get in. And yeah. So what's next? Oh yeah, closed circuit TV check running from midnight forward. Yes, very young foxes, got a new generation of those coming for the peanuts, and the hedgehogs, sometimes at the same time, and also on the bridge at the back, wherever we leave the peanuts. And that was until 0340 when the cameras switched, GMT, when the cameras switched to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight. Yes, we have had up to 4, and there's a mouse on the flat roof. And yes, foxes again, through to when the cameras switched at 2048 GMT for black and white. So that's that done. Time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 6th of July 2024, started with Michelle's pussycat lady relaxing in the games room with robot boats all around her, and of course materials. And then I see live on the closed circuit TV a heron has come up looking down from the flat roof and then flying down, and here's a few frames showing what he did replayed afterwards. That's the first goldfish he caught, most annoying. And then hung around on the bridge, and that's the water squirter that wasn't working, so the batteries are flat. Yeah, list on the job on the list which is change the batteries or put a solar panel on it. Yeah, those things aren't working, which are the decoys. He flies down and looks as though, yes, he caught another goldfish. That's 2 goldfish just in the period that I happened to see him working. Most annoying. Yes, so he's watched by a jay. Didn't do anything about it though. And then he flew off. So what are we going to do about that? Well, a number of things. Obviously the water squirter needs to be checked to confirm that it's not working. And of course, not on the photo trail, but I got my trousers soaking wet walking through all that uncut undergrowth that I hadn't had a chance to cut back. Yes, lady relaxing. I'm other jobs going on, like processing of the video from the day before, and a trip out and to get some materials. Now we know the materials to get, but it had to be sawn up to get it in the car, and so I bought a cheap saw there. May sound silly, but what's the alternatives? And could have taken a saw with me, of course, if I thought about it. And yeah, so we got back with the materials, popped them where one of the sheets is going to go, looked at the tracker, confirmed yes, anybody could see that's where it gone, Wicks at Woking or Knapp Hill. Looked on the spot tracker, which is going into the boat, yes, shows the same things, including getting back here home here. And looked at the rain radar, because it looked as though we had showers coming through. That's the reasons I got my trousers wet. And yes, there's lady relaxing. Oh yes, and one of the things I got was a handle to make a better job of the place we keep the peanuts. Yeah, rain showers coming on and off. So one of those sheets of plastic will go on the pond, and the other one is spare, might end up being used as roofing round the back. Yeah, so that one is slower time. Yes, good solution, keeps the leaves from falling in. Yeah, it looks as though we got rain on and off all through the day. Comparing the rain radar sites, and yes, well, there was some dialogue there, and also I took a look at, oh yes, the COVID page needed the graph to be updated, released by the Office of National Statistics, keeping an eye on the weather because that affects what I do outside. Yes, even though it was a small amount of rain, it was topping up the ponds. And yeah, looking at various things, June rustled up dinner for the evening, which I took into the naughty corner. Yeah, things were happening live on the closed circuit TV, like the pigeons coming for the peanuts, but I needed to top those up, so that only took me a minute or two. That was on the flat roof, then downstairs on the top bridge, and did the closed circuit TV check for the night, running from midnight, and there's two mice at the same time. Don't see much more than their eyes moving, of course. And there's a young fox also coming for the peanuts on the top bridge, and the different one that at the front, and that's a little one, that one. Yeah, very young, isn't he? So again, not all the visits, but typical, including the very young foxes. And the hedgehog, so the hedgehog's still coming. That's the end of that period. So it's 0405 when the camera switched at GMT, that is. Now I'm running back from midnight, running back, same sort of visitors, foxes and a hedgehog, and two hedgehogs there, so they would have been caught on that camera coming for the peanuts. And 2039 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. That looks like live TV again. And tunes, oh yes, there's the news on the there. Getting late now. Ladies come into the kitchen. Time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 6th of July 2024. Starting with Michelle Cat Lady relaxing. So quite a lot happened that day. So there's a long photo trail. Yes, glimpses of the robot boat and the untidy games room that might get cleared up with a bit of help. And yes, Toadie relaxing. Yes, ordered that after a tip from Peter. Might help digitising an old video. I've got lots of videos on VHS, and in the background I've been looking for the old video of the duck cam and range of the duck using the closed circuit TV, looking at the propellers. And yes, it seems to have the range, but I thought just to be sure, let's check batteries and things. Luckily I had the right screwdriver supplied. Oh yeah, look, quite a lot of water inside the boat. And yes, you can always freeze a frame if you want to see, but I thought, well, I'd better mop up the water as I get into trouble. So yes, so I seem to have done that. Put the, whatever you call that, a mop of some kind, back in the utility room where it belongs, and check the voltages of the batteries, and they seem to match, you know, the right type. And I had several spare, I see, when I bought the kit, and it was fairly easy to monitor them. But with all these things, you can't be too careful. So I think I swapped the battery. There were several spare there, and also put a bit of sealant around after screwing it together again, so reduce the chance of the water getting in. There's a lady inspecting the work. Probably left it outside to dry in the breeze. Lady watching. Yes, so yes, lovely exchange of information to me, basically, which resulted in an update to that page. Ah, surprise visit by the Mansells. And yes, so of course the young lad had to be shown the duck and get the opportunity to check it out, even if the stretch of water was quite small. And yes, showed them the video of us testing the same duck on Black Park. And yes, and they left, and so that was a lovely visit. And yes, Toadie watching out. Hello, Toadie. So what's next? That was oh yes, that was a fox in the middle of the day, being watched by a lady, caught on the close-up TV. And there's a jay. So probably decided to do the closed circuit TV check for the night before. And there's a hedgehog coming to the front porch for the peanuts before leaving, and a fox came along a little after. And there's a very young fox. We've got a new generation of foxes coming through now. That's when the camera switched at 0344 to colour for the day, GMT that is. And now going back from midnight, just a few pictures. Those two foxes got on all right, both fairly young. As I often say, not all the visits, but it gives you a flavour, because sometimes you get something different happens. There's Toadie hoping to catch a mouse, and the camera's switched to 2015 GMT to black and white for the night. Now back to live. Yes, listen to the Radio 4 news by the sound of it, look at it. Yes, needed to top up the peanuts on that feeder, and also on the top bridge. And then I found a load of water. It was in the, well, call it the peanut storage bucket, which I'd put a better lid on it, but of course water could still get in. So I sorted that out, I think. But first of all, put the peanuts in. Yes, my sorting out involved drilling some holes in the bottom of the plastic bucket, so if water did get in, it would drain out. And we have had trouble with the peanuts rotting before, but I think it was when they were in a bigger bag and longer. Anyhow, that's that done. June watching tennis, of course, Wimbledon, I think. And Ah yes, so I'm pointing out that you can see 3 feeders from 1 camera. And of course the important thing is you see the visit. So June's rustled up pizza, and I'm probably preparing for a visit to the Chobham Common Modern Flyers Association meeting at Tringham, and I thought, just for a laugh, I'd put wings on the duck, and you can always freeze the frame to see the explanation. But although it was obviously a joke, in fact there was a serious side to it, because if you remove the lead, then under the right conditions it could probably fly. Anyhow, that's a route to Tringham Hall, and June is kindly going to give me a lift. So we're off. This is in the evening, on our way past the Windmill Pub, a little stretch of the Ferris Roads to Tringham Hall. Video chat in the car, because obviously the timing was about 7:30, so it was a mixture of, right, the key thing is we went in, and it was lovely meeting familiar faces, and there was only a dozen altogether as it turned out, and so I put the duck on there and had some amusing chats, and the lovely surprises, there was also a arrival of a couple of guys there. So there was the Mustang. I put after reading out the label basically, and there was discussion on some important topics, particularly the question of making the Tank Hill site more accessible from mobility scooters. That affects a lot of people. Right, back home, past a few landmarks into Armitage Court, and yes, put the stuff back like that. That was a tailplane, I think, from one of the many planes I got there. Yes, hello lady. Yeah, put the duck back in the games room. Yeah, check the trackers just to see if anybody interested, because several people knew that I was going there, and they say, oh yeah, he did go after all, and how long he spent there. So yeah, back home, just here. And then the Snoopy page has the Spot Satcoms tracker that's going in the boat, the robot boat, so just check that was still working. Yeah, it was good. And yes, that's the boat it's going in, Snoopy Sloop 11, that survived quite a few attempts. And yeah, June's relaxing, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 7th of July 2024. Yeah, starting with a picture of Toadie. In fact, the first few photos taken were Toadie having a face-off with the cat from behind us, the so-called black and white cat. Yes, lots of odds and ends went on that day. There's Lady, Michelle's pussycat. There's the Go Top White SOS tracker that June's taking and pumping up her tyres before they take a trip up to Wembley. Not Wembley, sorry, stupid boy, Wimbledon, to watch the tennis. So they're just off now. I'm doing things like processing the video from the day before, like I'm doing now. And there's the duck, and lots of things going on at the same time. Yes, duck cam. And that arrived, which was the converter. So if I find the right VHS tape with an old video of the duck at California Lake, then I can capture it. Right, they're on their way, and the trackers seem to be working. What you saw earlier was the Spot Satcoms tracker, and there's the GoTop personal tracker. And so yeah, they're making good progress. Of course, it's public, anybody's interested. Right, that video is processed, so kick off something else. And every now and again just see how they're going. Yes, they're making good progress there. And that's where they parked the car. That's the Spot Satcoms tracker that's going in the robot boat. And that's sat in the car for testing, but of course it has practical benefit. So meanwhile they're making their way to number 1 court, and I checked on the phone, confirmed which court they were going to, and so I was able to find that on the Google Maps. And yes, popped out into the garden, the sun had come out, various showers going through during the day, and yes, the pond's getting low again, not sure what it is. Turn the tap on. It's could be a combination of soaking into the ground around it. Oh yes, decided to do a little bit of work, in quotes. Started by tying back June's roses that were blocking the path around the back of the pond, and I've managed to do that. But he says, make sure you put things back in the right place, and that garden wire goes in June's greenhouse where she puts it. May not be the obvious place. Yes, it's a bit untidy there, stumbling through. So I got out the clippers, easily found, around the back, and I chopped a route through the reeds that were growing out around the back of the pond, and then put the clippers back where they were. Yeah, coming up to midday. Sun was out some of the time, so that's midday British summertime, which is 1100 GMT, which is how sundials work. And yeah, there's the robot boat, practically ready now for a Brayley test. Look, it's got a nice red water line on it, so we'll see if it gradually sinks lower in the water over days, weeks, or even months in the water. Yes, that was lady. Yeah, check them there, sat where they said they'd be, and so they're enjoying the tennis. That's the route. Oh, that's the actual tracker. That's the go-top trace of where they had gone, including going to where they were sitting down. And I had a bright idea for searching for particular files, looking for not that particular video. That's the one is up on YouTube, which is a lovely old video of 3 of us messing around with the duck. But somewhere amongst my VHS videos, there may be the one that I'm looking for, which was filmed by Stuart and myself over at California Lake, and for years I've been looking for that. Anyhow, while things are going on, I'm checking the rain radar, and from 2 sites there, and because at the end of the day, if I do anything in the garden, it's good to do it in a gap between the showers. So yes, the bright idea was perhaps I could use the old VHS recorder. Yes, sorry about that. That was I found a spare one of those arms that had gone missing, so that was put back where it belongs. And trying to track down, looking at when it was, and I think it might have been filmed in about 2004, but can't be sure, within a year really. And I enjoyed going through the old video, and it's got valuable stuff on it, but not that particular video. So I wrote on it, no California duck or something similar, but it's got fantastic other stuff, family stuff and all sorts of things. So it's in the queue to be captured, and bits probably put on YouTube. Yeah, looking again at the weather, and seeing what the weather's going to be at over. It looks like they're getting rain at Wimbledon. You could see it coming if you looked at the website or websites. So take a walk down to the village, and yes, decided to have lunch. I look in the magazines. Yeah, so just a cheeseburger. Oh yeah, so WhatsApp messages coming from family. Yeah, looked on the tracker. Yeah, anybody could say, well, he's about there, not sure where he's eating. Anyhow, that was in the Flame Kebab where I ate, and then I popped into Tesco, picked up some odds and ends, including fruit nut chocolate and ice cream and stuff like that, put it away in the fridge, and looked on the tracker. Yes, anybody interested could say, oh look, he might have even gone into Tesco, until I got back here. Yeah, they're still there. Looks like they've walked around, had a bit of a doze. In fact, it was quite a long doze in my naughty corner in the lounge. Guys, look at the time. Still. Yeah, looks like I just turned the tap off and had a quick look. The apples are coming along nicely. Lots of stuff, including the Gunnerer anticarta's coming along nicely as well. I think the camera went flat about there, but then I carried on and charged it up and took a few more pictures, including Toadie keeping an eye on what I was doing. And yeah, looked at that wild area down the end. Isn't too bad. Yeah, that looks as though it needs topping up, so I topped up the peanuts on the bird feeder down near the second pond. Back in, there's Lady dozing in the games room. Yeah. So, oh yes, had a long chat. Paul gave me a ring, and yeah, that was great. And yeah, so pussycats are generally relaxing or misbehaving in the lounge, that would be. Looks like they're on their way back. So yeah, so I looked on the tracker. That's the spot tracker that's in the car. That shows where it's parked. Then I looked at their personal tracker. Yes, and I could see they'd got to where the car's parked from, I think it was a bus from the tennis courts. Yeah, there's the pussycats. So he said, what am I going to do? Well, yeah, I could do the closed circuit TV check for the night before. So ran from midnight forward. Yes, there's a young fox come for the peanuts on the front porch from a feeder, and right near that ring camera, so we get alerted. And there's even younger fox, and there's two of them at the same time. Seem to get on all right. And that's when 03:43 GMT is when the camera switched to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight. Yes, there's a fox cubs, I think, at the back and at the front. And there's a mouse on the roof. Yeah, scuttling around. And yeah, so camera switched to black and white for the night at 20:47 GMT. Yes, pussycats relaxing. That's Lady. Yes, they are making good progress back. And so I think I'd already calculated the prediction of whatever it was, 50 minutes or something from when they set off. And it turned out I was within a few minutes of that in terms of when they arrived. So I decided to take a walk down to the Comrades Club. So a few snaps there going down. Yes, lovely and clear, no rain, into the Comrades Club. Yes, had my 0% Peroni. Yeah, checked on the smartphone where they were. Yeah, watched a bit of golf and things, and the atmosphere. Yeah, anybody interested could say, oh, it looks like Robin's in the Comrades Club. Ah, there, yes, that doorbell, so-called doorbell, even though it's down low, had recognised me going out. And them arriving, which I'd already seen on the trackers, so that's good. And so I just let them know, yeah, where I was, and I'll be back fairly soon. And yeah, back home. Yeah, the trackers said where we were, including the Spot Satcoms tracker and my tracker, saying, oh yeah, there's his little trip up to Tesco's and then later into the Comrades Club. So, just back here. And there it is live, a little fox out the front porch. So, time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 8th of July 2024. Very few photos taken until the end of the day. But the main event was me walking all the way from Sunninghill to Tank Hill on Chopham Common. The main reason was I was curious about mobility scooter access, and its subject had come up before. Now, if I'd have looked on before I went, I would have seen there was a much better route to it, but the route I actually going through muddy be interesting. No photographs there. Anyhow, so that's the pictures I took after I got back, pointing out the route, including actually getting to Tank Hill. And I went through the village to begin with because I was going to pick up some batteries, and it was a question of me questioning all the time, should I continue with this idea of walking to the common? But I did. And yeah, it was a worthwhile exercise. Those are the photographs, or pictures of the alternative route, which would have been a lot better. Yes, water squirt, I'll put the batteries in. That's to deter the heron. But very little else done. Had a bit of a doze. Yeah, woke up. Was woken by a young fox visiting the peanuts left for them and triggering. Yes, that's Lady, Michelle's cat. Then I had a look on the smartphone at the little fox who just visited. Yeah, that worked. So, June's watching the news, time for bed. That's the end of that photo trail. Might possibly tag something on the end of it later. Fox and Arm on 7th of July 2024. Raw closed-circuit TV video clips. These are not being shown at the full 4000 line resolution. Here's the fox arriving, and yes, I'll explain a bit more about resolution in a moment. This isn't the full clip, there's only just one clip. He comes round after the peanuts. That's not the youngest of the foxes that we have visiting, I don't think. He looks a bit mangy in terms of his tail, but anyhow, so he's eaten the peanuts, which is a regular occurrence for a number of animals, including foxes, number of foxes. Then he's decided to lift that arm down and out of the way. He was probably obscuring, and he was also thinking, is it worth having? But no, I'll concentrate on having my fill of peanuts first. So he's munching the peanuts. And on this question of the video resolution, because of the tools I'm using and also familiarity with them, performance and capability of the tools, what I'd like to do is expand that bottom left hand corner of the picture to double the resolution that's displayed, because that's the raw video material that was recorded by the camera and that we have on file is more than capable of showing the full resolution. That's before doing anything like enhancement of videos, which I don't bother with. And anyhow, Fox is still enjoying his peanuts. There were several other cameras covering that, but at the end of the day, as limits how much time you spend on something. And the video tool I was using, I think was struggling to do things easily. It's all down to the user interface and whether it behaves the same when it's handling a big video. Anyhow, enough of me moaning about that. We're more than halfway through the video clip now. At the end, which you won't see, the fox basically left, went running off. But there's a little bit more on this clip before he does that. The other cameras showed him or her, I can't really tell, leaving the premises, trotting out, probably looking for any other amusing things to take. Right, so looking around at the moment, come back, let's have another look at that arm. Now, is it for real, a human arm, or is that real blood, or is it plastic? What is it? He said, So then, yeah, move it around, because he was thinking I might take it and show my friends back home. And then he dragged it, and that may be when the finger came off, don't know, but that's pretty well at the end of the clip. Yeah, it's out of sight as well, you can't see it behind the table. Oh, let's have some more peanuts. And he left after that. So that's the end of that clip that I put a bit of a commentary on. I should have warned you there'd be rough and long photo trails, but what we're now going to go into is some material that was shot over a year ago now on the subject of global warming and the prophetic words of James Lovelock, and also my experiences with the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. So that's what this was shot on. And I think that earlier clip started from about here. Now, what I put on the screen, because global warming is rare in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert. Shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary, it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case. And resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world. Not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes.
That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including the live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request. But when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well. But as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my major weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive, and through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the pond's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.